I never thought my own sister could betray me like this. She spread lies about me to everyone I loved, told them I stole from our parents, and even turned my own nephews against me. I felt crushed, angry, and completely alone, but I refused to stay silent. I gathered every piece of evidence, every document, every proof that showed the truth. And when I confronted her, the look on her face was priceless. Finally, justice was served. She couldn't lie her way out, and I could stand tall knowing the truth was on my side. This story is about betrayal, lies, family secrets, and the sweet satisfaction of watching karma catch up. I never thought I'd be the villain in my own family's story. But if you asked my sister, she'd tell you I'm the reason our family fell apart. And if you asked me, well, I'd tell you the truth. It started with one rumor. Just one. But in our family, rumors grow faster than weeds. I'm the older brother, 56 years old, and I've always been the responsible one. Our parents passed away years ago, leaving me and my younger sister, Ellen, to handle the estate. We split most things fairly, at least I thought we did. She got mom's jewelry, I got dad's tools. The house was sold, and we divided the money. Nothing dramatic. At least, not yet. Ellen and I were never best friends, but we got along. Or so I believed. She has 2 kids, both grown, and I always tried to be the fun uncle. Birthdays, graduations, Christmas dinners. I was there even when it was inconvenient. That's just who I am. But 3 months ago, I got a call from my cousin Mary. She said, "You need to know what Ellen's been saying about you." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" Mary hesitated. "She's telling people you stole money from your parents before they died." I swear, I couldn't breathe. "What? That's insane. Why would she say that?" Mary lowered her voice. "She says you manipulated the will, that you cheated her out of what was rightfully hers." I laughed at first, but it was that nervous, shaky laugh. That's a lie. I'd never. But then I realized Mary wasn't joking. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept asking myself, why will my own sister stab me in the back like that? The thing about rumors is they spread faster than truth. Soon, people at church were looking at me funny. Neighbors stopped waving. My own godson, Ellen's oldest, barely said a word to me at a family barbecue. And then, the final straw, Aunt Carol called and asked, "Why did you cheat your sister out of the inheritance?" I didn't think you were that kind of man. I felt sick. So I did what I always do. I gathered the facts. I dug out every single document from the estate. The will, the bank transfers, the legal receipts, everything. I built a binder so thick it looked like a college textbook. But before I showed it to anyone, I wanted to confront Ellen privately. I called her. "Ellen, we need to talk. Now." She sighed. "Oh, so you finally want to explain yourself?" "Explain myself? You're the one spreading lies." Her tone was icy. "I just told people the truth. You took advantage of Mom and Dad. Everyone knows it." I clenched my fist around the phone. "That's not true, and you know it. I have every piece of paperwork to prove it." She chuckled, a cold, mocking sound. "Paperwork can be forged, you know." That's when I realized she didn't care about the truth. She cared about the story, the drama, and worst of all, she wanted people to hate me. A week later, we had a family gathering at my aunt's house. I brought the binder with me, tucked under my arm like a weapon. I knew this wasn't just about inheritance anymore. This was about my name, my reputation, and my dignity. The room went quiet when I walked in. Ellen was already there, laughing with cousins, sipping her wine like she was queen of the family. She smirked when she saw me. I stood in the center of the living room. My voice shook, but I forced myself to speak. "I know what's been said about me. I know the rumors. But I'm here to show you the truth." I opened the binder and spread out the papers on the coffee table. Every check, every signature, every transfer, it's all here. Mom and Dad's will, notarized and legal. I didn't steal a dime. I didn't cheat anyone. The room was silent. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Ellen rolled her eyes. "Oh, here we go. He thinks he can play lawyer." I looked straight at her. "No, Ellen, I'm just playing honest. Something you should try sometime." Gasps filled the room. Aunt Carol leaned forward, scanning the documents. This looks legitimate." Mary nodded. "It's all there. He's telling the truth." But Ellen? She wasn't done yet. She stood up, her face red, her voice trembling with fake outrage. "You can't fool me. You tricked Mom and Dad into trusting you. You always thought you were better than me." And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't about money. It was about jealousy. The night ended in chaos. Some relatives sided with me, others stayed quiet, and Ellen stormed out, slamming the door behind her. But I wasn't finished. No, because the truth has a way of shining, even when people try to bury it. And if Ellen thought she could ruin me with lies, she had another thing coming. That was only the beginning. The day after the gathering, I woke up with a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief because I finally showed everyone the truth. Dread because Ellen had not gone quietly into the night. Far from it. By noon, I started getting messages from cousins, neighbors, even a few friends of my parents. Most were supportive. "We're so sorry she lied about you. We always knew you were honest. Thanks for showing the truth." Those messages warmed my heart. But the ones that chill me were from people who didn't take sides, who whispered, "Are you sure you didn't do something behind the scenes?" It was like walking through a minefield. Every step was uncertain. Ellen didn't contact me that day. Instead, she started her own campaign behind my back. I found out later from Aunt Carol that Ellen had gone around telling family friends I was aggressive and controlling. She said I forced the binder on people and shamed her in front of everyone. I couldn't believe it. I had only shown the truth. And suddenly, in her retelling, I became the bad guy again. But I refused to stay silent. I began keeping a detailed log of everything. Every call, every message, every conversation where she tried to manipulate someone. I took screenshots, recorded dates, and wrote down every lie she spread. I felt like I was preparing for war. Not against strangers, but against my own sister. 3 weeks later, my nephew, Ellen's oldest, came to visit me. He looked nervous, fidgeting with his hands. "Uncle, I heard some things," he said slowly. "Mom said you took money from Grandma and Grandpa." I took a deep breath, trying not to shake. "Listen," I said gently. "I didn't take anything. I did everything legally. Honestly, I wouldn't steal from anyone, least of all our parents." He stared at me for a long moment. "But everyone says—" I knelt down to his level. "Everyone can say whatever they want. But the truth is the truth." "Here," I said, handing him a simple, summarized document from the binder. "Look for yourself." His eyes widened. He scanned the pages. "Oh, I didn't know." He looked at me, almost scared. I guess I shouldn't believe her so fast. That small moment felt like a victory. Maybe not in front of everyone yet, but in the most important hearts, the next generation. Then came the most shocking revelation. A distant cousin contacted me, whispering cautiously, "You need to know something about Ellen, about why she's been acting this way." I leaned in, intrigued but wary. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. It's about Dad's old bank account. There's money missing. Ellen thinks you know where it is." I froze. Missing money? I hadn't touched a penny beyond the estate split. My mind raced. Could this be another lie she made up? Or did she do something herself and try to frame me in advance? I decided to check the accounts. After hours of digging through old statements and bank records, my heart sank. There was a withdrawal made right after Dad passed under Ellen's name. Not just one, but several. Enough to raise questions if anyone looked closely. I couldn't believe it. She was trying to set me up before the rumors even started. It wasn't just jealousy anymore. It was calculated deception. I confronted her over the phone. "Ellen, I found withdrawals." "What is this?" There was a long silence. Then a voice I barely recognized. Defensive, shaky, almost panicked. I needed the money. You don't understand. I had bills, the kids, my house." I felt my blood boil. "You stole it, and you blamed me. Do you realize how insane that is?" Her voice rose. "I'm your sister. You're supposed to protect me, not accuse me." "No, Ellen. I protect the truth. And right now, the truth is you stole from our parents and tried to make me look guilty. That is not love. That is betrayal." She hung up. After that, I had to tell the family. I didn't want to embarrass her publicly, but I couldn't let her continue spreading lies unchecked. I called an emergency family meeting, this time smaller, just close relatives who could be trusted. I laid out everything. The binder, the documents, the account withdrawals. The reactions were priceless. Some relatives shook their heads in shock. Some stared at her in disbelief. One cousin whispered, "I can't believe she tried to do this." Ellen sat there, pale, trembling. Her eyes darted around, desperate for support that wasn't there. I could see the shift in the room, the tide turning. And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't just about proving I was right. It was about showing everyone that truth matters, even when your own family tries to bury it. By the end of the evening, Ellen left quietly. She didn't slam the door this time. She didn't argue. She just disappeared into the night, probably thinking about how badly she miscalculated. I felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. Exhaustion from the emotional roller coaster. Relief that the truth was finally undeniable. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Ellen's pride, her jealousy, and her need to control the narrative weren't going away anytime soon. And that's when I made a vow. If she wanted war, I'd be ready. Not with anger, but with proof. With evidence. With the kind of truth that no rumor could ever overwrite. After the meeting with the family, I thought the worst was behind me. I was wrong. Ellen wasn't done. She had a plan, and it was personal. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages, not from relatives supporting me, but from distant cousins and even family friends I barely knew. Each message carried the same tone: suspicious, questioning, accusatory. Ellen had spun the story again. Now, not only was she accusing me of stealing, but she claimed I was manipulating the entire family, bullying her, and even threatening her children. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my phone, feeling my heart sink. "This can't be real," I muttered aloud. "She can't really be doing this." But she was. I decided I had to confront her directly, face to face this time. I called Ellen and asked her to meet me at a quiet cafe near our childhood neighborhood. She reluctantly agreed, probably thinking she could twist the story further. I arrived first and sat in a corner booth, my binder tucked under my arm. When she walked in, she looked exactly like she always did. Confident, polished, smug, but there was a flicker of something new in her eyes. Nervousness. Fear. I spoke first, keeping my voice calm. "Ellen, we need to talk." No phones, no witnesses, just the truth. She smirked. "The truth? That's funny. The truth changes depending on who's telling it, doesn't it?" I sighed. "It doesn't change. You stole from our parents. You spread lies about me. I have the proof." She laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "Oh, you mean that pile of papers? Anyone can print papers. Anyone can make documents look real." I leaned forward. "Not these. These are notarized. These are signed, verified. Every cent accounted for." Her eyes narrowed. "You think this makes you better than me? Always Mr. Perfect? Always controlling? You don't get to judge me." Her words were sharp, but beneath them, I could hear desperation. She was cornered, and she knew it. The conversation escalated quickly. Ellen began bringing up every old grievance she could find. Childhood fights, petty disagreements over chores, even minor incidents from decades ago. "You were always the favorite," she shouted. "Mom and Dad loved you more. I had to fight for everything." I shook my head, exhausted. "This isn't about favoritism. It's about honesty. It's about respect. You crossed a line, Ellen. You lied about me. You tried to ruin me." Her voice cracked. "You don't understand. I had to do something. Everyone was looking at me like I was nothing. You always got everything handed to you." I took a deep breath. "No, Ellen. You made choices. Choices that hurt people. That hurt me. And now, you're trying to cover them up with lies." She glared at me, her jaw tight. Then she stormed out of the cafe, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the binder. That evening, I received another shock. My cousin Mary called me, her voice urgent. "You need to see this," she said. "Ellen, she's posted something online." I grabbed my tablet and saw it immediately. Ellen had created a social media post, framing me as the greedy sibling, the one who took everything and left her with nothing. She even doctored photos to make it look like I was hiding money. Comments were pouring in. Some believed her. Some were skeptical. The damage was spreading. I felt my blood boil. This wasn't just family drama anymore. It was a public attack. But I didn't panic. I knew what I had to do. I started gathering every piece of evidence I could: emails, receipts, bank statements, even photos of Ellen withdrawing the money herself. I documented dates, times, locations. I wanted to create an undeniable trail, one that no lie could overwrite. 2 weeks later, I decided to fight back. I called a family Zoom meeting, inviting only those who had been misled or were unsure about the truth. I shared my screen, walked them through every document, every transfer, every withdrawal. I showed how the money had been managed legally, how Ellen had accessed funds without anyone's knowledge, and how she had spun the story to make me the villain. The reactions were intense. Some relatives gasped, others shook their heads in disbelief, and a few even cried. My cousin Mark whispered, "I can't believe she tried to make you out as the bad guy. This is shocking." Ellen tried to speak, to interrupt, but no one listened. She had lost control. For the first time, I saw her frustrated, powerless. After the meeting, Ellen disappeared for a few days. She didn't call, didn't post anything, didn't reply to messages. I thought maybe she'd finally realized the truth. But then, on a Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Ellen. Her voice was quieter, almost pleading. "Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was scared." I took a deep breath. "Scared of what, Ellen?" "Of being forgotten. Of losing everything. You always had everything together, and I didn't. I panicked. I could feel a mix of anger and pity. You hurt a lot of people with your panic. You spread lies. You stole money. You tried to ruin me." She paused. "I know. I'll fix it. I'll make it right." I wasn't sure if I believed her. But one thing was clear. The truth had won this round. She had nowhere to hide. After Ellen's quiet phone call, I thought we might finally have a chance to fix things. Maybe a small truce. Maybe a family calm enough to start healing. I was wrong. Very wrong. Within a few days, I started hearing whispers again. This time, it wasn't just distant cousins or friends. It was closer. My nephew, Ellen's youngest, came to me, looking scared and confused. "Uncle, is it true?" he asked, voice trembling. "Mom says you took the money and now Dad's account is empty." I felt my stomach twist. I took him by the shoulders. "Listen carefully. I didn't take anything. Your mom withdrew some money, not me. I have the records, and I can show you everything." He nodded slowly, but his eyes held doubt. Ellen had poisoned even her own children's minds. And I realized then that this wasn't just about proving truth. It was about saving innocence, about stopping her lies from harming more people. That same evening, I received a call from my attorney friend, Tom. He said, "You need to take this seriously. Ellen is crossing legal lines now. Social media posts, false accusations, this could get messy." I felt a rush of frustration. Legal action was never my first choice, but Ellen had left me no room. I spent the night compiling everything: notarized documents, bank statements, screenshots of her posts, witness statements from family members. I wasn't just preparing to defend myself. I was preparing to end her campaign of lies once and for all. The next family gathering was inevitable. Ellen had called it a reconciliation dinner, trying to paint herself as the victim. But this time I was prepared. I arrived with the binder, my laptop, and a clear plan. As soon as I walked in, I noticed the subtle tension. Cousins exchanged nervous glances, aunts whispered behind hands, and Ellen sat at the head of the table with a smug smile. She thought she was in control. I began calmly. "We're here to clear the air. Once and for all." She scoffed. "Clear the air? You think this binder and your screens can tell the whole story?" I ignored her, opening the laptop to show everyone the account statements. "Look at these withdrawals. Every one of them matches dates and times. None of the money went missing under my watch. Ellen accessed funds without anyone knowing, then lied about it to cover herself." Gasps filled the room. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone leaned in, eyes wide. Ellen tried to interrupt, her voice rising. "You think this proves anything? I've been telling the truth all along. You've always had it easy." I took a deep breath, forcing calm. "No, Ellen. The truth doesn't depend on feelings or jealousy. It depends on facts. These are the facts." And then came the bombshell. Aunt Carol, who had been quiet all evening, spoke up. "Ellen, We found letters Dad left for us, explaining some hidden savings. Money that only you could have accessed. Do you want to explain this? Ellen's face went pale. She stumbled over words. It's not what you think. Not what we think. I cut in, voice firm. You stole from the family, Ellen. You lied about me. You tried to turn everyone against me, including your own children. Tears welled up in her eyes. For the first time, she looked like a scared child, not the confident woman who had manipulated everyone for months. I didn't mean. I felt trapped. I shook my head. Intentions don't erase actions. Lies have consequences. The room was silent for what felt like eternity. Then my nephew spoke, his voice trembling but firm. Mom, I don't understand why you did all this. Uncle never did anything wrong. Ellen broke down completely. She sat on the floor, sobbing. I just wanted to be noticed, wanted to be loved. I didn't know how else to get it. It was heartbreaking, but I couldn't let emotions cloud the facts. I looked around the room. Everyone was staring, stunned. Some angry, some sad, all shocked. And I realized the truth had finally pierced through the lies. But it wasn't over. Ellen's manipulation had left scars. My family was fractured. Some relatives quietly stepped back, unwilling to engage. Others were shaken but supportive. The damage to trust was deep. That night, I sat alone in my study, reflecting. Ellen's actions had forced me to become relentless, methodical, unyielding. I had to protect not only my reputation, but also the family's integrity. And though the confrontation had brought the truth to light, it had also revealed just how fragile family bonds could be. I knew Ellen's reckoning wasn't just public exposure. It was also internal. She had to face the consequences of her actions, not just legally, but emotionally. She had to understand that lies can destroy relationships, no matter how clever or justified they seem. And yet, I felt a small sense of victory. The binder, the documents, the calm presentation of facts, they had cut through the storm. Ellen couldn't spin her story anymore. The truth had the final word. After the breaking confrontation at the family dinner, life settled into an uneasy calm. For me, it was a mix of relief and vigilance. I knew Ellen wasn't someone to give up easily. Her jealousy and pride were dangerous weapons, and I had to be careful. Still, the truth had been exposed. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of clarity. People were finally seeing me as I truly was, honest, responsible, and unfairly accused. But I also knew that trust, once broken, wasn't easily repaired. Some family members had stayed neutral, unsure who to believe. Others, like my cousin Mary and Aunt Carol, had become my allies, quietly supporting me and keeping an eye on Ellen's next move. It all came to a head 2 weeks later. I received a formal letter from the bank. My heart raced as I opened it. Ellen had attempted to transfer a significant portion of the remaining estate into her own account, without authorization. The bank flagged it as suspicious and froze the funds. I felt a mix of disbelief and vindication. This wasn't just jealousy or rumor-mongering anymore. This was an actual attempt at theft, and she had underestimated how closely I had been monitoring the accounts. I immediately contacted a lawyer. Tom, always calm under pressure, said, "You have everything you need. This is clear-cut. She's legally accountable for attempted misappropriation." I nodded. Good. She needs to understand there are consequences for actions like this. It can't just be words and manipulation. The next family gathering was tense. Ellen arrived, eyes darting nervously. She had no smug smile this time. The atmosphere was heavy, everyone aware of what had happened, but no one wanted an argument. I decided to speak first, calmly, without anger. Ellen, this is your last chance to make amends. The bank caught your attempt to access funds without authorization. The law will handle it if you don't take responsibility. You cannot lie, manipulate, or steal from your family anymore. Her face turned pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it. There were no words, only silence. I could see the weight of guilt and fear finally hitting her. Over the next few days, Ellen tried to apologize, first to me, then to the family. But the damage was done. Some relatives were cautious, some skeptical, and some refused to engage with her at all. She had burned bridges with her own hands, and no excuse could rebuild them overnight. Meanwhile, I continued to rebuild trust where it was frayed. I spent time with my nephews, reassuring them, showing them evidence that the money and estate had been handled properly. I met with cousins and aunts, sharing the facts calmly and transparently. Slowly, the family began to heal. Relationships that had been strained started mending, and the gossip and lies finally lost their power. Ellen, on the other hand, faced legal consequences for her actions. The attempted transfers were reported, and after a review, she was required to return the money she had taken and pay a fine. More importantly, she had to acknowledge in writing the misrepresentations she had spread about me. It was a relief to see justice served. But it wasn't about revenge. It was about accountability. Ellen had to face the truth, and the truth had been undeniable all along. In the aftermath, I reflected on the journey. I had learned that family can be complicated, sometimes toxic, and filled with hidden agendas. But honesty and persistence can overcome even the most insidious lies. I had fought not just for my reputation, but for fairness, integrity, and the respect of those I loved. One evening, sitting by the fireplace, my nephew came to me and said softly, "Uncle, I believe you. I know you never lied. Thank you for showing me the truth." I smiled, feeling a warmth that months of conflict couldn't take away. That was what mattered. Protecting the truth, standing up for what was right, and restoring trust where it had been broken. By the end, Ellen had been humbled. She no longer held power over the narrative. She was forced to face the consequences of her actions, and the family, though scarred, had a chance to rebuild. People who mattered now knew who I really was: honest, patient, and relentless when it came to protecting what was right. Sometimes, family drama reaches a point where the only solution is truth and consequences. Lies may divide, jealousy may inflame, but justice, patience, and careful evidence always have the final word.